Now next, we have the reverse exchange. Again, this is one of the exchanges that are much more complicated to execute. Right? Not all 1031 exchange companies offer these. But why do you want to do a reverse exchange? Well, maybe you found a property you really, really like, and you know it's not going to be on the market for very long. So you would want to execute a reverse exchange to buy the property first, because a reverse exchange allows you to buy it first and then sell your property later. All right? Also gives you a peace of mind, knowing that you already have your replacement property. If you know for sure your relinquished property is going to sell fairly quickly, maybe you want to execute a reverse exchange to get the property you want first. Now, here's some challenges to the reverse exchange. It's almost always an all-cash purchase. Right? In a regular exchange, you sell, you have the money, then you use the money to buy replacement property. Reverse exchange, you have to come up with the money first. Well, can you get a loan? Unfortunately, for most conventional banks will not loan on a reverse exchange. And here's why. Investors cannot be on the replacement property and the relinquished property at the same time. They cannot be on title to both properties at the same time. So what we do is we create an LLC. The LLC takes title to the replacement property. Then once the client sells the relinquished property, we'll simply transfer the LLC to the client. All right? So why won't banks loan on it? Well, banks aren't going to give you money so an LLC can take title to the replacement property. So unless you have it all cash, or if you're willing to get a hard money loan, reverse exchanges are going to be difficult to execute. So here's how it works. Create the LLC. LLC takes title. The client will operate the property under a triple net lease agreement. So what that means is if the if the property has a tenant in it or it's generating income somehow, client gets that. Any expenses, clients will pay it. So you wouldn't have to worry about what if this property was getting income. Income will go to the client. Relinquished property has to sell in 180 days from the close of escrow on the replacement property. So it's complete opposite of the standard exchange. Property sells and your taxes are deferred. Simple as that. The LLC is then transferred to the client and exchange is complete. But what happens if you fail to sell your relinquished property? Well, you are now the proud owner of two properties. Whether or not you want to own both properties, you now own two properties. There are no tax consequences because you haven't sold anything, but now you own two properties. Congratulations. The final type of exchange available to investors is the improvement or construction exchange. Now this one is set up similar to a reverse exchange in that we create an LLC. And the reason for creating an LLC is the client cannot be on title to the property while it's being improved upon through a 1031 exchange. That's why we create the LLC. So we create the LLC. LLC takes title to the property, and the accommodator will hold your funds. It is up to the client to find workers to work on the property or to build upon the property. It's up to the client. Workers will bill the client, and the client will authorize us to pay the workers. You have 180 days to spend the funds. If it's past 180 and there's funds left over, we'll wire that back to you and you pay taxes on whatever's left over. So the construction exchange, the construction doesn't have to be completed in 180 days. You simply have to spend the funds in 180 days. Now, some of you will be thinking, hey, you may be able to pay somebody up front. I don't know if you want to pay your contractor all that money up front. What if you do it for yourself? Unfortunately, that can't happen. You can't pay yourself to work on your own property. You may charge yourself, a couple of $1,000s an hour because, your time's worth it. But unfortunately, you cannot bill yourself or pay yourself for the hours you spent working on the property yourself, or you cannot use your own construction company. It has to be a third party. Now, whether or not they're a licensed company, third-party company working on it, it's up to you. We don't come knocking. We don't check. Finding the workers is up to the client. So once the funds are spent within 180 days, we'll transfer the LLC to the client. There's still funds left over. Again, we'll transfer the funds back to the client or whatever's remaining, and we'll also transfer the LLC regardless back to the client. Yes, ma'am.
What is the transfer fee from the LLC back to the client?
There's no secondary transfer fee from an LLC to a client because we're not transferring real estate property to the client. We're transferring LLC to the client. So using an LLC, that usually avoids a duplicate transfer tax, and that's usually a majority of the time. Maybe a little different depending on the county. Different counties, different rules. So check with your CPA or tax advisor, but generally avoids a duplicate transfer tax. So those are the 4 types of exchanges available to investors. Simultaneous exchange, where you can close on the same day. Delayed exchange, where you sell first and have 180 days to buy. Reverse exchange, where you buy first and have 180 days to sell. Or the construction exchange, which lets you use any remaining funds to improve on your property. So the 1031 exchange is very flexible, and depending on what your needs may be, you can use either one of those. So with the 1031 exchange, here's the best part. You could defer your taxes for as long as you live. You can keep on doing 1031 exchanges for as long as you live. And when you pass away, that debt, that defer taxes that you've been deferring all these number of years, it dies with you. So who's the lucky ones getting your property? Your kids. So if they don't suck up now, they suck up now. They need So the heirs will inherit your property, and they will not have to pay back the deferred taxes that you've been deferring all these number of years. The kids won't have to pay back any of it. It dies with you. Not only that, when your kids inherit your property from you, they will step up in fair market value on your properties. So if they were to sell the property at what they inherited for, say the next day, hopefully not the next day, right? They would have zero capital gain, and they pretty much pocket everything. Yeah, we probably won't enjoy it as much as your heirs, but at least you know that they would not have to pay that back, and they're set up a little better. So that is the best part about the 1031 exchange. The deferred taxes dies with you.